All right, here is my audience. All right, I would like to apologize first in advance for the way I sound. I have a really, really terrible cold. But hey, while we're on the subject of colds, there are many myths and facts that you might have all heard about the common cold throughout the years and how you catch it and how to prevent it and all of that. As stated in the article Common Cold on the site WebMD.com, although the common cold is usually mild, it is a leading cause of doctor visits and missed school and work days in the U.S. The CDC explains that over 22 million people miss school days that are lost annually in the U.S. just because of the common cold. As an early childhood educator, I know very well how easy it is to catch a cold, and I know also a lot of good ways to prevent them. Nobody likes to feel miserable, and as much as I'm sure we would all love a day in bed and watching Netflix all day, there's many ways that you can reduce the chance to get a cold. I am sure many or all of you have experienced the common cold at least some point in your life, so today I would like to speak to you about some myths and facts about the common cold. Then I'm also going to tell you some great ways to prevent yourself from catching the cold. And finally, I'm going to tell you some of my personal favorite ways of getting over a cold if you do catch one, like me right now. After all, everyone watching this speech is a part of the 1 billion people in the United States that suffer from a common cold annually. And this is why we need to stop the spread from happening so often. Many of you have probably heard your grandma or grandpa say, "Don't go outside without a coat because you might catch a cold." Yep. Well, this is actually one of the biggest myths out there about the common cold. As stated in Dr. G. Michael Allen's article, Prevention and Treatment of the Common Cold, Making Sense of the Evidence, the cold virus is actually spread only through hand contact with the person who is infected, and this contact can be direct or indirect contact. The most common way of catching a cold is actually through the nose. So if you were to touch something that was infected or a person who had a cold had touched it and you touch around your nose, that is the most common way to catch the cold. Dr. Allen states that it's around 50% of the cases in his article. Some symptoms I'm sure you all know include sneezing, scratchy throat, and a runny nose. The second most common way of catching the cold is the virus being spread through your mouth. So I'm sure most of you have heard parents say, get your hands out of your mouth to their children, and this is because it's also very easy to catch the cold this way. The severity of a cold definitely depends on a person, and especially the age. An example of this would be a young child usually develops a fever if they have a cold, and with adults it's very unusual to have a fever with a cold. Cold and flu season hits its peak around the winter time. Not because it's cold outside, so sorry to all those grandparents out there, but it's actually because everyone is stuck inside together in small spaces, and it gives the virus more chance to roam around the room and hit the hard tables or get on hands, and that is why kids spread it so much faster in daycare settings or in other small settings like that. So because so many people are stuck inside the room together, it gives the virus more opportunities to find its next victim. Here's another fact about the common cold. Children under 2 years old can have about 6 to 12 infections a year, while adults it's only around 1 or 2 a year. Working at a daycare, I know the importance of hand washing to help prevent passing on cold viruses, and also picking up the virus in your environment. In the article Prevent Colds with Hand Washing, on WebMD.com, it states that some viruses and bacteria can live several hours on hard surfaces, like cafeteria tables, telephones, computer keyboards, and doorknobs. And I can bet that all of you have those at least at your work and definitely in your home. The article also states that 80% of infectious diseases are transmitted by touch. That is why it is so important to use proper hand washing techniques each and every time you wash your hands. And also why hand washing is the biggest prevention to not get sick. I'm now going to show you the proper way to wash your hands through a step-by-step process. This is actually the process I use at work with the kids. I'm going to bring you over to the sink. All right, step 1. Turn on the water, rinse your hands, and then grab some soap and start scrubbing. Usually for younger kids, we like to sing the ABCs. If they're older, they're going to count to 20 because 20 seconds is the time you should take to wash your hands. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? And then you're going to rinse. I like to keep my hands down so that all the germs are running off my hand. That's a great tip I learned from Mom. The next step is extremely important because most people forget this, but you actually want to grab your paper towel next as the water is still running and dry your hands completely and then turn off the water with the paper towel. All right, so that was the proper technique to how to wash your hands. So while washing hands is the biggest prevention from getting sick, the virus can still make its way in and you can still catch this bug. I have some of my favorite ways to get better faster to ensure that I don't miss out too much while being completely miserable. Everyone has their own preference to what they like to take when they have the common cold, but I'm going to include some of my personal favorites. A good idea is to have a pain reliever on at all times. I prefer ibuprofen or Advil in case I get tension headaches or anything else that comes along with my cold. Also, my favorite for stuffy noses is either a Sudafed or a Mucinex. And if you don't know what Mucinex is, that's the one with the funny commercials. It's also a really great idea to stay super hydrated when you have your cold, whether it's drinking extra water or even some juices help. This thing needs to be around at all times. Kleenex is extremely important. I like the little small packages that you can slip in your jacket and you can take wherever you go. My next favorite thing to use also can be pretty gross, but I definitely recommend it. It's very effective. It's the Neti Pot. It's a quick, easy way to use it, and your nose clears right up. It's really awesome. And finally, I really like using Vicks Vapor Rub before I go to bed. I just apply it, and it makes it a lot easier to breathe as I'm falling asleep at night. Those are just a few of my favorites. Like I said, everyone enjoys, well, doesn't enjoy, but has their own preferences to make them feel better faster. But I know that I have a lot of colds, and I often get sick, so I usually have a lot of that around the house. In conclusion, while common colds are, well, common, there are plenty of ways that you can prevent yourself from getting the virus. There are also plenty of ways to get rid of a cold as quickly as possible, so you don't have to worry about missing out too much on those sick days. Today I talked to you about some of the myths and facts about the common cold, prevention by using appropriate hand washing steps, and also some ways to take care of yourself if you do develop a cold. I will conclude this speech with a little joke. If a doctor treats your cold, it will go away in about 14 days. But if you leave it alone, it will go in 2 weeks. By Gloria Silverstein. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Good job.
Very good.